So nice of you to join us. We appreciate your company here. Welcome to the Blue Files, the extended edition. My name is Anwar Knight, your host. This is actually an extension of our Big Blue Marble podcast, which we welcome you to explore at www.bigbluemarble.earth. We just uploaded a brand new episode, by the way, and we highlighted that epic heat wave that occurred in Western Canada, and we connected with a very passionate climate scientist by the name of Simon Donner. So we invite you to check that out. Now, on this web series talks about stories from around the world, and it really highlights some of the issues going on and some of the solutions. And some of these stories really don't get the spotlight, so that's what it's all about. Very busy show on the way. We are going to head to Tokyo to find out if the games are as eco-friendly as they claim it to be. Plus, we'll head to Italy, where one city is saying basta to the big boats. But we start off with a Billionaire blast-off. And help me with that, a warm welcome to my co-host, Christina Stevens, joining us from the West Coast. Any desire to go to space?
Desire, but I'm not quite brave enough, I don't think. Great in theory, not in reality. That's all, everyone has been talking about it this summer, right? The new kind of space race, the billionaire space race, not really going anywhere other than space. And of course, we're talking about Richard Branson flying up in his Virgin Galactic VSS Unity. And of course, Amazon's Jeff Bezos, he went above the 100-kilometer mark in the Blue Origin's New Shepard 4. So lots and lots of talk about this. Is it the right thing to do, or are people impressed? Is it amazing? We all heard about Bezos thanking his employees and customers. There's another side to it, though. It's the environmental side. Some are saying it could sort of spark a renewed interest in the environment, because one of the draws of going into space is the incredible view. Apparently it's a black like no other black, and then the horizon, and basically they're saying, picture something about 10 times as amazing as what you would see from an airplane when you're up there. So maybe that'll inspire people to talk about space. They'll see it, they'll feel it, they'll see the Earth and what's happening. But I wouldn't say that's the prevailing feeling. The prevailing feeling is this is bad for the environment, okay? I mean, think about it.
Thank you.
They're saying per person, each ride will give off about 100 times the pollution as your average long-haul flight. And we are talking per person. And these are short flights. It's mostly because there are so few people on board, right? And I mean, still, I'm thinking, could it make that much of a difference? But when you consider how much they're growing this industry, there's talk that Virgin Galactic has something like 600 people already booked, for future tickets at reportedly $250,000 each. Again, did I mention I'm probably not going to space?
Not on these ones anyway, not these flights. Yeah, well, it's interesting. They all have their own proprietary science, space gear, and including fuel. There is reports that the Blue Origin rockets, in fact, are greener than Branson's, because he uses, and I'm not a scientist, liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen propellants. But I was intrigued by Elon Musk. He is using reusable rockets, but it's burning liquid kerosene and liquid oxygen. Kerosene, to me, is a big red flag, and some scientists say in just a few minutes, his rockets will burn 400 metric tons of kerosene, emitting more carbon dioxide in those few minutes than the average car in 2 centuries. So, yes, there are going to be some complications and impacts to the environment. And Christina, what really bothers me about this is that it really is a rich man's club. I'm not against innovation, but the fact is there does not seem to be any regulations or scientific checks with this in terms of, what are the impacts to the environment? I think we need to stay here and fix the planet that we've screwed up before we start venturing off into outer space. And I think if they want to do that, they should be paying for the regulation or the scientific body to say, well, let's see what kerosene rockets will do to our atmosphere. One scientific study suggested that the chemical process could erode some of the ozone layer. We need the ozone layer. right?
Absolutely, and they're saying with a lot of the systems it could. There was a study way back in 2010 looking at the soot that could be released from certain kinds of these rockets or airships, whatever you want to call them. The soot released by 1,000 space tourism flights could warm Antarctica by nearly 1 degree Celsius. That's huge. I mean, they could be up to 1,000 flights within a couple or a few years. An entire degree. I mean, think of the things that can melt, the marine, all of it. It's, I mean, that is very, very significant. And again, it feels like it's to play, frankly, or to show your prestige, right? It's a Hummer on steroids, okay? It's just to show how big and strong you are, how much money you have, and that you can do something and push other people out of the way. I mean, there was some talk on one of these, rides. There was some plant life or something, and they're going to. Honestly, this is just my opinion. I feel like it's the equivalent of greenwashing. Oh no, we are going to do some science here. But realistically, it's a flight to nowhere for egos and a short experience. I mean, at what cost?
Again, innovation is good, exploration is great, science is fantastic, but we're at a crossroads on our planet. And I can't help but thinking, if the money that was invested by these three individuals alone was put into really helping the planet first, because they may get a great view and maybe 200, 600, 500 people over the next 10 years get that amazing view. There are billions of people on Earth that are still dealing with problems, and some of that will also be impacted further because of the actions of what they're doing in space. So I think greenwashing, it is a good term, and maybe it is applicable to that story. It certainly looks like it is for our next stories. We head to Tokyo for the games, what are being billed as the most eco-friendly games in history. Or is it? It's interesting. I'll give the organizers some credit because for the first time in history, the actual Olympic medals are made from recycled material. 80,000 tons of electrical components from some 6 million mobile phones. They separate the precious metals to make the gold, silver, and bronze medals for the athletes. Some 18,000 beds are made out of cardboard. Sounds great, right?
Unless you're a weightlifter and you weigh about 300 pounds. I don't know how that's going to work.
You need some duct tape, a little reinforcement if you please. No kidding. Or don't drop water on your cardboard bed.
Yes, exactly.
But, good idea, because you're looking at 18,000 of them, so that's okay. They've also pledged 100% renewable energy and electric vehicles, so that part is good. But eco groups are now suggesting the greenwashing element because they dug a little deeper here. And I found this really interesting. The wood that was used in the building of the stadium, it now is linked back, at least the timber supplier, the key supplier, to deforestation. The Rainforest Action Network says this key supplier got their wood from actually tropical rainforests in Indonesia and allegedly illegally stolen land from local communities there. Also, 3 of the major gold sponsors of the games in Tokyo, they actually fund coal-fired power stations. And there's probably, unless you're talking about the spaceships with the billionaires, coal is probably the worst thing for the planet. Almost half of the carbon is coming from coal-fired plants, about 46%. So this is really significant where, on one hand, a great push, a good initiative of trying to make things eco-friendly, but it doesn't go to the root here, the real cause of what they need to acknowledge and really change their tactics when it comes to holding these games.
And with the sponsors, you would actually, now that you pointed out, think that the IOC would sort of get ahead of that a bit, because years back, I remember when I was a kid, a lot of the cigarette companies were trying to improve their image, and they sponsored so many athletic events. There was Demore this and Players that, and eventually that was in Canada they banned that. From advertising at sporting outdoor things to change the image, right? So you would think that the Olympics would be a little more cognizant of those kinds of issues as well, right?
Well, you would think that. The problem is, and I don't want to get into a debate on the IOC, but it is really all about money. I mean, that's why we can't even show the rings, the Olympic rings, the logo, or the music for this, because it is so tight in terms of copyright infringement. We are showing some of the images of the beds and things like that. We're able to have access to that, all medias. But I do think that a lot of people are now going to be looking around. I think the ball is in motion of what is a priority now on the planet and how can we make it better. And I think ultimately when it comes to the games, it's so much of legacy. We can start anew in terms of let's evolve the games now in a different way, and then eventually maybe that will become the norm. At least that's my hope.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, the athletes, I mean, a lot of them use their very public position to stand up for things that are green. And I always applaud that when somebody uses their position to just sort of further discussions like this. It's really impressive. They don't have to do that.
No, they don't have to do that. Let's get to our final story, and we head to my favorite country, that is Italy. In particular, we're going to Venice. And, the sheer uniqueness of this Italian city has made it really a worldwide attraction for centuries, right? Just the fact that there's canals, it's all water, and it's really something from the olden days and olden time. But there are new restrictions in place for some tourists. So tell me about this.
They have canceled the ability. They're stopping cruise ships from going right into Venice. And this isn't some, in the future when we figure this and that out thing. This is effective August 1st. They're drawing a line in the sand. They're drawing a line in the water when it comes to cruise ships. So this is to protect the environment. Now this has followed. There's been years. It's years in the making. Environmentalists have been protesting. Residents, those who are involved in protecting history and culture, saying these giant cruise ships come in. And it's not just about the thousands and thousands of passengers they disengorge. It is, of course, also about the pollution. It's also about the wake that they cause. I mean, the infrastructure there is very delicate underneath a lot of it. The marine ecosystems, they're also delicate. So this is coming now after years due to a push by UNESCO, which have basically threatened, or perhaps I should say warned, it was a very real threat, that they were going to put Venice on the list of historic places in danger because of all this damage being caused by the cruise ships. So when the Italian cultural minister, announced this ban, he actually called it an historic day in Italy. And it will cover, Venice and, one of the most famous cities in the world. Perhaps most iconic is St. Mark's Square. You won't be seeing the cruise ships right there anymore. St. Mark's Canal, no more. Giudecca Canal, which is the huge one that kind of goes right through. They won't be there. Mostly just, applauds for this, except obviously, understandably, from those, in the industry. They say about 4,000 jobs will be directly impacted. The cruise ships are about 3% of the gross domestic product for Venice. That's a problem. Obviously, jobs are important. The government says they will provide some compensation, but how much, when, how, to whom? Those are all questions that remain. But this is a huge step. I mean, you see the cruise ships there. Yeah. So many. The one cruise I've been on in my life started and ended in Venice, and that was probably one of the main reasons a lot of people chose that particular cruise. Right. So this is going to hit the industry hard. It's going to hit Venice hard. So it's a bold decision. I like it. It's a bold decision.
By some accounts, things that I was reading, some 30 million tourists visit a year, and some of them come on 500-600 ships. Yeah. So there's a lot of traffic, first of all, that's going through there. The other thing is they have indicated they are going to build another port, though, where ships can dock, if you will. It's not going to be in the traditional route, so it's not like you can't go there anymore. It's just it'll be in a different area, correct?
Yeah, it's another port on the mainland, and it'll be about a 10-minute boat ride, so they can zip you back and forth in the tenders like they would in some places. But it's a long way away from being done. really hasn't even been started, and they say there's going to be some dredging involved and all of that building, which begs the question, what impact will that have? Everything has an impact, and this small cruise ships will still be able to go in, by the way. This is very specifically targeting what I would call the mega ones. It's anything longer than 590 feet, which is 180 meters, more than 25,000 tons. Some of the ships right now are about 4 times that. So
that's the thing, right?
They're cities. They're floating cities. So to transport, you can imagine an entire city plonk right there. You can see how it would have an impact.
COVID has shown when you don't have, the tourists, the ships, and normal activity, how everything just became, full of life again. And there were many scientists documenting that, jellyfish in particular. The water was very clean and everything, because it is a thriving ecosystem there. It's a wetland, lagoons that makes up the whole region. Locals, they understand the benefits of it. Of course, they have to earn a living too. It's very expensive to live on Venice because everything has to arrive by boat. But I applaud it too. I think it's about time, because it's not about completely eliminating. It's about redirecting here. And I think, like anything else, it's just a matter of, nobody likes change. Once it becomes part of the standard or the norm, once the new port is built, okay, it's a little inconvenient, but it means that you're going to improve certainly the environment, the ecosystems for people to enjoy for many generations to come.
What I really like about this is the power that UNESCO has, declaring World Heritage Sites. It's helping save so many of them in this way. Another one right now is Stonehenge. The British government is planning on building a tunnel right there for its highway system. And UNESCO said, we're going to put Stonehenge on the in danger list if you go ahead and do this. At this point, it looks like Britain is still doing it, but there is at least that pushback by a major international body, because otherwise, it's so hard when it's up to an individual country. And of course, they're going to do what's best for them in the moment, or what voters want. And it's sort of to have this bigger group sort of looking at these issues as well, not just saying which are culturally important, but how we save them. I think it's great that they're listening to UNESCO, and this isn't over for Venice. It'll be reviewed again in 2023, so they have until December 2022 to provide a report to UNESCO outlining all of the ways that they're going to protect the future of Venice. So it's all part of a bigger picture, and I'd love to go back there one day. So I hope they do a really good job and keep it beautiful.
Well, let's hope that sooner than later we'll all be able to do some sensible traveling. But we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Christina. Thanks for the updates, and we look forward to our next installment here of the Blue Files. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you, Emler.
As we wrap up, we ask for your support. Let us know you appreciate the time that we are donating to this project as we try to help save our planet by liking and subscribing to this channel. Of course, if you're watching us on Facebook, like or show me a parade of hearts, and be sure to share the post and follow the page. Until next time, my friends, have yourself a wonderful, safe day, and we look forward to your company again here on the Blue Files, the extended edition.